Hello, explorers, and welcome to Reach the World's Explorer program. For 25 years, Reach the World has inspired youth to become curious, confident, and compassionate global citizens through virtual exchange. My name is Tim, and I'm so glad you're joining us for today's live stream event. Today is the first live stream event as part of Reach the World's exciting new virtual exchange with the Cleanest Air on Earth expedition. We've already been introduced to University of Utah explorer Kelsey Barber through her amazing articles at reachtheworld.org. I added a link to her journey homepage to the chat. If you haven't seen them yet, I strongly suggest you go check them out. And now today, very excitingly, we are traveling virtually to her, which is somewhere beneath Australia in the Southern Ocean. We're going to hear a lot more about that. And we're also going to hear more about her field work, what she's doing at sea in the Southern Ocean, and how she's settling into life aboard the research vessel RV Investigator. We'll see Kelsey in just a second, but before I bring her on stage, I would like to give a warm welcome to the teachers and students who are joining us live today. We have a wonderful school group from Jamestown, Rhode Island that will be joining us on screen before too long. But if you're watching via YouTube, please feel free to use the YouTube chat bar to let us know you're here, where you're joining from, and of course to share any questions you have for Kelsey as we go. We'll try to fit as many as we can into the next 45 minutes or so. All right, with that introduction complete, I think it's time we bring our explorer onto the stage. Kelsey, welcome to Reach the World.
Hi, thank you, yeah.
Hey, it's great to see you. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good. I know. I'm sorry. I've got a lot of energy today because it's the afternoon here in the United States, and it is very, very, very early where you are. You woke up especially for this event. So
Yeah.
thank you for being with us. What time and what I'll set a frame of reference here. Here in Chicago, it is Wednesday at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. What time is it where you are right now?
It is Thursday and it's 5 a.m.
All right, so you're most of a full day ahead of us where you are. And can you remind us where that is? Where are you? Where is Kelsey right now?
Yeah, right now we're in the Southern Ocean. We are like down below Australia, way down right near Antarctica. So.
All right, very good. In preparation for this, I tried to find a map that captured that a little bit. And for anyone who's watching, I think this is a view of Earth you may not be used to looking at. Can you sort of explain what we're looking at, Kelsey, and tell us where approximately you are?
Yeah. So this is the southern hemisphere of the Earth, and you can see that the big white landmass on the bottom, that is Antarctica, and up from there is Australia, and the little island that's off the tip of Australia that says TAS, that's Tasmania. That's where we left from, and we went basically just like straight south to the coast of Antarctica, and then we've been going along that for several days now, several weeks now.
All right, so you're closer to the Antarctic continent now than you are to Australia?
Yes, much closer. I'm trying to see. I don't know if you can see that map behind me at all.
It's here. Let me make you a little bit bigger and let's see.
If you look at this map here, you can see that this light blue right here is Australia, Antarctica. And then about the distance of my thumb is probably like 100 kilometers. So we're, just off the coast of Antarctica, basically.
So in short, you are surrounded by water as far as you can see and have been for quite a while. That map was mostly blue.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
All right. Well, we know a little bit about why you have gone to such great lengths to go to this place that's way out of the way, where most people don't go or never will go. Can you give us a sort of a brief review of why you and your colleagues have gone to such great lengths to go to this part of the world?
Yeah. The reason why me specifically, I'm interested in it is that it is the quote unquote cleanest air on Earth. So basically, when we come all this way south, we're leaving all of the civilization, all of the influences from cities and cars and all that. So we see just this perfectly clean environment. And in that, we get to study the way that clouds would have worked before that we had cities and pollution and all that. So it's kind of like going back to the very basics of learning how clouds and precipitation work. And we can see some really interesting patterns that have to do with linking biology, so like the natural world, to our cloud formation. So that's why we're interested in this region.
All right, so almost by definition, you have to get really far away from cities and humans to find an environment like that.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right, well, you have shared with us some photos of your sort of life from the last couple weeks, and I want to bring those up, and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what we're looking at. You included these in your articles for your Reach the World virtual exchange, and I'm going to put the link at the bottom of the screen for anyone who hasn't been to the Journey homepage and read Kelsey's amazing articles. It's a great place to start, maybe after our event today. But you can check that out. This is a good chance for us to talk a little bit more about what we're looking at. This is, I'll turn it over to you, Kelsey.
Yeah. So this is a photo. It's from the front of the boat. And you can see that there's a little stand you could stand on to look over the edge and look out. And this is a picture, the landmass in the background. That is actually Tasmania, and this was taken on the first day of a voyage that I was on back in May. So that's what we're looking at.
Right.
And this is my advisor. This is Jay Mace, and he is doing a balloon launch off the back of the ship. So if you see that little balloon that's up in the sky, it's right near the clouds. That is a weather balloon, and he's releasing that to get data about the temperature, the pressure, and the relative humidity of the atmosphere. So that will go up, measure everything as it goes up, and then eventually the balloon will pop and it will fall back down. And yeah, there's me doing one of the balloon launches. You can see in this picture that the balloon is actually pretty big. And by the time it pops, it actually will get 5 times as big.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How often do you release balloons like this? And have you released any balloons as part of the expedition so far?
Yes, yeah. So we try and do one twice daily. So we try and do one about 9 a.m. and about 9 p.m. every single day. If there is some interesting weather or interesting clouds happening, then we do them a lot more often. We'll do them maybe every 3 hours. That's kind of the maximum amount of balloons that we'll release in a day. But we've done a bunch from this boat already on this voyage. I think we've released 50 as of yesterday. So that's pretty exciting. It's pretty fun to do the balloon launches on here because we'll also have other scientists from other teams come out and do balloon launches too. And we get to talk about the stuff that we're researching in the atmosphere while mostly everyone else is researching the stuff that's going on in the ocean. So yeah, that's pretty fun.
Are balloons your primary way of collecting data about the atmosphere?
They are the main way of collecting data, like profiles of the atmosphere. That's why they're super important. But we also have 24/7 data that's being collected from the other instruments that we have on board. Like we have a radar on board and a bunch of aerosol inlets, which are measuring just particles in the air, little things in the air. All of those are running 24/7. So the balloons are just a piece of the puzzle.
All right. I think we have some pictures of the RV Investigator a little bit for the next few. Can you tell us what we're looking at?
Yeah, so this is the kind of main part of the boat. This is what you would see if you were standing on the front of the ship and looking back towards the ship. And you can see that there are multiple levels here. I'm currently, this photo that was being taken, it was taken from the second level of this boat, but you can see that it goes all the way up, like 4 more levels after that. And you can actually see some of our equipment that is up on this 5th deck. If you look really close, there's something that looks like a bucket that's on a stick. And there's also a dish on a stick that is up on that top deck. And those are some of our instruments. And then we also use those large domes that are on top of the boat. So the big balls on top of the boat, those are cloud radar.
All right. There's another view.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is taken from the front of the ship. You can see, looking back at the ship, it's a bit farther away. And you can also see just some of the other instruments that we have on board here. We try and use a lot of the space that's available on the ship. So you can see there's a shipping container on the deck here that has another radar in it. There's also this box that has the X on it. That's a big container that is being filled with seawater, and experiments are being done in that little sampled environment. So that's what's going on there. And you can also see these 2 cranes, which are on either side of the boat. And those are used to take stuff from the shore and put them on the boat. And also they can be used to move stuff around on the ship if you need to do that. So.
Right.
And then this is a photo that's taken from the bridge, which is like the place that the master or the captain will steer the ship from. And so that is at the very top of the boat, and he has basically glass all around him so he can see what's going on. And one of the reasons he needs to see what's going on is these big icebergs that you can see in the background. So you can see there's an iceberg piece. That one, it looks pretty big. And this was taken like around sunset, so you can see it's kind of pinkish on the iceberg.
Yeah, that's amazing. Kind of jarring to see a huge piece of ice floating in the water in front of you.
Yeah, it was kind of fun because the first time that we all saw an iceberg on this voyage, everyone basically like ran out on the deck. Everyone was taking pictures of it. And now that we've been down here for a while, we see them almost every day. I still find them super exciting, but maybe they aren't as well photographed as they used to be.
Let's fly through these next slides because I know we have students who really want to ask you their questions today. I think that these photos sort of show that the Southern Ocean is not always the calmest water to sail through.
Yeah, it can be pretty hectic. We had like a 48-hour weather period the other day where basically we couldn't do anything just because the waves were so big and the wind was so strong, actually.
Wow.
But this is a space that we get to use when we have downtime. So this is our lounge. And you can see some of the stuff that people like to do during their time off. You can see like some guitars. There's some video game consoles. Just in another cabinet, we have a ping pong table. And there's like a dartboard. So people get creative on what to do with time off. So
I'm glad to know it's not all work and no play. There's got to be a little relaxation.
Yeah, a good balance.
This looks like an important room.
Yes, it's probably one of the most famous rooms on the boat, people's favorite. It's their mess hall, which is like a cafeteria. And yeah, so you can see in the very back, there's 3 windows that leads into the kitchen. And then, yeah, we have room to sit down. All of the stuff that's in this room can actually be strapped down. So the chairs all have like a tether on the bottom that can be strapped to a link in the floor. Yeah, and so if weather gets rough, there's a a way to keep everything in place.
All right.
This is our laundry room, which is also nice to have. And so you can see there's a couple different laundry machines that we get to use. They're probably just the same as you would have in your house.
Great.
And then this is a gym that's on board. We have 2 gyms. One of them is really more of a storage room that has weights in it, but this is the main gym. And you can see that there are like photos of seascapes, like a beach, and there's a couple other photos that are over by the bike. And so those can help you feel like you're running outside or biking outside.
Amazing. Even as the ship is sort of tilting back and forth, it's probably hard to imagine you're on dry land.
Yes, yeah.
And this is sort of our last room that you showed us a picture of, and we'll get more into this over the course of the virtual exchange. But which one is this?
Yeah, so this is one of the labs that we use. And what we're doing in this lab is actually processing the filters for the aerosol. So the stuff that we're measuring in the air, we process everything here. And we also process some seawater samples in this lab. So that's kind of the function of the room. You can see that there's kind of a lot going on. There's a high on the boat. So you can see there's boxes under every table. Every space is basically used because we're not the only people who use this lab. We actually share it with, I think, 3 other research groups too. So.
All right, great. Well, that gives us a really good sense of where you are and what you're doing right now. And we've got some friends at Lawn Avenue School in Rhode Island who I want to bring on to camera. Hi, everyone in Jamestown. I know that you've got some questions you want to ask Kelsey. We have her here. So if there's someone who's feeling really brave and wants to step up to the camera and ask their question, I'll let you go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, here they come.
Right up to the camera. Right up here. The camera's right at the top of this. Okay. Good. So come see yourself.
Hi.
Oh, Kelsey, can you hear us all right? Okay, there she
Sorry.
is. Right.
My connection just came back in. Hello.
My question is, what is the hardest part of doing like an experiment or something?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think one of the hardest things is just trying to figure out all of the information that you can get out of the data you're collecting. So one of the things that we're researching here is aerosols in the air. And the specific ones that we're trying to look at, there are very few of them. And so we're constantly running a filter, but even in that filter, we might not observe any of the aerosols we're looking for. So I think it's figuring out what to do with information that you're given, even if that information is not exactly what you were expecting to find. So that's what I would say. I think also there's just added challenges to doing science at sea. You have the whole boat moving. A lot of times I have this little beaker of seawater that is like sloshing around to sink, and I'm trying to pull it into a little tube to measure it. And so that can be exciting. Yeah, I think that doing science at sea is a little bit more challenging in physical aspects, but you get to be in a community where you're constantly thinking about everything that you can observe. So that's a benefit.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for getting us started. Anybody else have a question for Kelsey? Oh, there he is. Go ahead.
Do you retrieve the materials when a balloon pops because you don't want to litter in the ocean?
Yeah, that is a good question. Unfortunately, we don't. I wish that we did. And I think it is challenging because the information that we collect with the balloons is so valuable that hopefully it offsets in some way the trash that we're leaving in the ocean. I will say the stuff that we use, most of it will biodegrade within about 2 years. But the exciting thing is that the radiosondes, which are the instruments that have the sensors in them, they're actually coming out with biodegradable ones next year. So our future voyages will have totally biodegradable radiosondes being launched.
Great question. Go ahead.
What is the most exciting part of being a scientist at sea?
I think, I don't know. I find it all exciting. I like being out here in the places that I've been studying back in Utah, back in my home. And it's kind of like getting to see everything in real life for the first time. So that I find super exciting. It's just a fun environment also to work with other scientists that are on the ship. So that's the other highlight, I think.
Great. Thanks, Kelsey. All right. Next question. Go ahead.
How many days will it take you to be done and go back to the Australia?
Yeah. So as of today, we've been down here for 25 days. We left on the 1st, and we will be down here probably 15 more days, and then we'll start a transit back to Perth, which is a different city in Australia. And that transit will take us around another 30 days. So in total, we'll be out for 65 days. If you were going full steam from Australia to Antarctica, you could do it all in, I think, 2.5 weeks is how long it would take on this boat.
How much does the expedition cost?
That's a great question. I don't actually know the total of the whole expedition. I want to say that I guess I won't guess on the numbers.
Okay, maybe Kelsey, you can tell us who owns the boat, the ship you're on, and sort
Yeah.
of why it exists.
Yeah, so the boat that we're on is funded by the Australian government. So the people who run this ship, it's a group out of Hobart that's funded by the government, and the whole purpose of this boat is to do research. So the whole point of why the ship was built was science, and everything that goes on is science. Every transit that the ship takes is taking in data in some way. It's not always atmospheric data, but it is measuring something all the time. And the boat has been around for, I think, 10 years now. And it actually is going into dock, to dry dock for about 6 months in about 6 months. So then it will be able to run for another 10 years, I think. So.
All right. Excellent. All right. Go ahead.
What's your favorite part of the journey so far?
Oh my gosh. I think my favorite part, I had this really special moment where I got to see whales really close up. And I think that was my favorite part. I was standing on the deck of the ship, on the very front of the ship, and I was looking out, and it was sunset. And for some reason, the whole ocean, it was like very calm. So you could see really far, and it looked really glassy. And then all of a sudden, I saw this back of a whale come up, and it blew air, and it was super, super loud. It was super close, and it kind of sounded like an elephant sound. And it did that a couple times, and then it eventually dove underwater, and its whole tail came up. And yeah, it was a special moment. So I think that was my favorite part so far.
How long does one project on your expedition take?
That's great question. So the stuff that we're measuring, we'll be measuring basically the whole voyage. The actual day-to-day tasks like launching the weather balloons, that takes like 30 minutes each time we launch one. And then the stuff that we do in the lab takes about 30 minutes every time we do it. So yeah.
What are the 3 funnest things about being a scientist on a boat?
Okay, the 3 funnest things. I think one thing is that we're all doing science in this community together. So basically, everyone you see is working on the ship in some way, doing science in some way. So there's a lot of collaboration that happens. So I think that's super fun. The second thing is probably just getting to be out in the environments that I study normally, getting to see them in person, see the different ways that clouds are working in this environment. Seeing that in person is really cool. The third thing, I think actually like getting to do the science is really fun. I love doing the like weather balloon launches. I love spending time in the lab, all that.
When did you become a scientist?
So I love that question because I think I became a scientist probably pretty young, because doing science can look like anything. It can look like going out in the world, looking at clouds. It can look like watching a worm on the sidewalk. I think that being a scientist is something that anyone can do. But in terms of it being a career, maybe, I think that probably 3-ish years would be the mark, because that's when I started grad school and started being paid to do research. So
What is your favorite thing that you study when you do science?
my favorite thing to study is precipitation. That is like the main focus of the work that I do a lot of times. And I think precipitation is super fun to study because of the place I'm from. I'm from Utah. We're famous for our snow. And so it's kind of been a something that I've seen my whole life. And now I get to study it in very specific ways. So yeah.
Has anyone fallen overboard?
No. I think there are a lot of different safety regulations to keep that from happening. Yeah, there are a lot of things that we do to make sure that doesn't happen. Like one of the things is we always have a crew member helping us with the balloon launches, making sure that everything is safe and that we're safe. And yeah, everyone on board is pretty experienced with different scenarios. So if anything did happen, there would be a way of handling it, but they do the best they can to make sure that no incidents happen. So
what was your first experiment you did in your career of being a scientist?
Okay, yeah. The first stuff that I did for grad school was actually looking at data that was collected back in 2018 from this ship. And I was trying to see if the measurements that we got off the ship were the same as the measurements that we got off of an airplane that was above, it was flying over the ship. So I was trying to see if those two measurements were the same. That was the first experiment.
Do you have any other instruments on the boat?
Yeah, we have a bunch of instruments. We have the radiosondes that we launch. We also have 2 different radars. We have a LiDAR. It's on the 5th deck, it works similarly to a radar, but it uses a laser. So you can actually see the laser at night going up into the sky. And the other things we use a lot of different remote sensing stuff. So that's just stuff that is taking measurements by sending out data and then having the data come back and seeing what it says. So that's the majority of what we do. And then we also do some just seawater sampling. So the instrumentation for that just looks like filters and little vials of water.
That's an excellent question. I know our friends in Jamestown need to wrap it up. So maybe we have 2 or 3 final questions from Lawn Avenue.
Okay.
So how was the quarantine before you guys got on the ship?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the quarantine for this voyage, it was a 4-day quarantine. So everyone on the boat had to wear masks for the 4 days. And if you were sick, you would get tested regularly. We actually did have a few cases that were that happened aboard, and because of that, our quarantine was extended. So I think in total we were in quarantine for a weekish. And so, yeah, that just looked like wearing masks if you were sick, testing, and then isolating if you had symptoms or had tested positive. So that's the way it worked here. We were trying to avoid COVID, but we're also just trying to avoid sickness in general. So even before COVID, a cold on board could travel through basically everyone on the ship pretty fast. So all in all, we're just trying to stay healthy. So that's the precautions we took.
Does the boat have pollution?
The boat, yeah, it does pollute the environment. The fuel that we actually burn on this ship is very clean fuel. So it is not the same as you would see with like the large shipping vessels, or it's not that amount of environment. The other thing in terms of pollution, have you all heard of like noise pollution before? Yeah, so this boat is actually designed to be super quiet as it's going through the water. So it contributes very little noise pollution to the ocean.
So this is like, I'm the last one. Could like a whale ever come out of nowhere and kind of like hit the ship almost?
So I think that would be an unusual experience if that happened, because most of the time the ship crew are up on the bridge. They're looking around. If there's whales in the area, then the whole boat will slow down to try and keep those animals safe. So yeah, if we see any whales, everything is slowed down. If there's any equipment that's running that could like interfere with their communication, that equipment is turned off. We try really hard to not interfere with the environment in that way. So.
All right. What a great group of questions. Thank you so much, students, for your great questions. And next time we connect with Kelsey, we're going to get a lot more into the science that she's doing aboard the ship, because I also want to know about all the equipment, about all the data she's collecting, how she's going to use it. We'll do a really deep dive into the science that she's doing. But for now, is there sort of anything else from Lawn Avenue before we say goodbye? All good? All right. Thank you for joining. All right. Well, Kelsey, those students are lucky they're at the end of their school day today and they're heading out. We have a couple more minutes just to chat. Like, I love hearing student questions. Makes me think of some questions of my own that I know other students might be interested in. How do you eat? Like, what kinds of things do you eat aboard the ship? Is it, I imagine it's hard to cook and eat and prepare food on a ship that's rocking in the Southern Ocean. What do you eat?
Yeah, we are really lucky. We have 3 chefs aboard this boat, and so they are the ones who cook food and use the kitchen. And the stuff that we eat, it's normal stuff. Like we have like roast on Sundays. That's a tradition. So like a pot roast on Sundays with potatoes and vegetables. We've had a salad bar the whole time, but I'm pretty sure that the fresh vegetables are running out quickly. We also have, there's a soup that is out in the kitchen just 24/7. So anyone can go and have soup at any point in the day. And one of the favorite things on board is probably the ice cream chest. So everyone gets into that around 10 every night. So
I was going to ask, as you're in an area that I presume is a little chilly, can get a little bit cold, is ice cream on the menu, or does anybody even want ice cream in that environment?
yeah, I would say it's still a favorite even in the cold environment.
Excellent. And maybe as one of our last questions today, before I let you go, I know you have just woken up and you're about to start your shift, your 12-hour shift on the ship. What does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah, so kind of a typical day is waking up. Normally we do a balloon launch in the morning. Sometimes it's as early as 6 a.m. So I normally get up around 6 a.m. to check if we're doing one. And then I get up, eat breakfast. There's like an hour period where everyone can go and get breakfast in the morning. Then I normally will sit down and do some work on my computer. So normally like writing or analyzing the data that we're taking on this ship. And then we have a lunch break. We're also so we're in Australia, so they also do like tea breaks throughout the day. So there's one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And basically throughout the day, we're just releasing weather balloons. And then if there is any seawater that's collected, that's not really on our schedule. It's whenever the oceanographers and ocean scientists are taking measurements. So whenever that happens, I normally will go and process the seawater. And then normally around 3 every day, we're swapping filters for aerosols and things like that. And then normally I wrap up my day around like 7-ish at night. I'll put away the computer and I'll go play ping pong or watch a movie or read my book or something like that.
All right. You touched on this a little bit with one of the student questions, but like when you were a 5th grader in school, did you ever envision yourself being on a ship in the Southern Ocean collecting data as part of an atmospheric science expedition?
Yeah, definitely not. I feel very lucky to be able to be involved in this work. And I would say above and beyond not being able to see it as a 5th grader, I maybe couldn't even see it 3 years ago. So it's really an amazing experience to be out here.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for waking up, spending your morning with us, getting out of bed and answering so many student questions. It's been great chatting with you. I'll just remind everyone, this is our first live stream event with Kelsey as part of this virtual exchange. We're going to reconnect with you, Kelsey, while you're still on expedition. And next time, get a little bit more into the laboratory science and what you're doing with the samples and things that you collected. I'm going to put a link at the bottom of the screen for any educators who may be watching and want to officially join the virtual exchange. You can go to that link and sign up and maybe get an expedition flag of your own sent to your school. So make sure and sign up if you're interested in that. And then one more time, let's add the link to your journey homepage at Reach the World. Your articles coming in have been phenomenal. We have a new one coming up every week, and the journey will continue for several more weeks. So this has all been really fun and exciting. Kelsey, thank you so much for sharing what you're doing with us, and we will see you again very soon.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a great way to wake up.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.